This is Anthony Rodriguez with DM2 Software. I'm the inside sales client relations representative here at DM2. Today I'm going to be filling in for Tom Lane today as the webinar host. And first of all, I want to welcome everybody to today's What's New in Sage CRM version 7.3 webinar. Now, before I introduce today's presenters, I want to go over a few housekeeping items here. First of all, because of the number of attendees that we have on today's webinar, everybody's phones are going to stay on mute. So if you have any questions during the webinar, just enter them into the question window you see on the lower right hand of your screen, and we'll try to answer everyone's questions at the end of the webinar. Now, if we're unable to get to everyone's questions, we're going to go ahead and follow up with everyone individually to make sure we finish within the times. Just want to be considerate of the amount of time we've set aside for the webinar today. I also want to remind everybody that today's webinar is being recorded, and as soon as the recording is available, we're going to post it on the customer content page of our website, and we'll send you an email and let you know when it's available to be downloaded. So on that note, I want to go ahead and introduce today's CRM consultants, Colin Chambers and Trish Martin, and they're going to give you an overview of what's new in Sage CRM version 7.3. Take it away, Colin.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Anthony. And good morning and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending our presentation today. So our general agenda that we have is really kind of two categories. There's, what's new with Sage CRM 7.3. So that's the latest version of CRM that just came out, and we would like to discuss kind of what the new features are there. It is a pretty significant upgrade this time around, so we'll give you a good preview of that. And it actually came out a few months ago, but we always wait until around the C patch or so, let other people work out the kinks. So we're just starting to roll it out this week, as a matter of fact, and the reports have been really good. The word, through the grapevine and through the community is that it's very solid, and there haven't been any significant problems with it. The other thing I'd like to throw in once we're done with that is, what's new at DM2 with CRM. And a lot of things have happened. If you implemented Sage CRM with DM2, even a year ago, or especially longer than that, 2, 3, 4 years ago, there's been a lot of improvements. We've streamlined things. We've learned a lot from all the projects we've done. We're very busy. We've got probably 40 very active clients on CRM alone. So if you did roll out, even as recently as a year ago, we've got a lot of things, a lot of improvements that we'd like to kind of show you. We're also working on a CRM Masters offering. So when we start out with a new project, or it could be a new upgrade, we have a lot of new optional features, some really exciting stuff. We're extending some of the functionality from DM2 over to CRM for the first time, and there's just a lot of neat stuff here. Finally, we're going to wrap up with Trish Martin is going to talk about advanced business intelligence options. And there again, we've got a lot of new stuff that, if you implemented CRM a while ago, then you probably haven't seen this stuff. So it's, we're targeting this discussion for people who, you're already on CRM, you've been on CRM for a while, you're already familiar. We're not going to talk about the basics of CRM. We assume that you have that down. But at the same time, this might also be applicable for brand new installations. But I think a lot, if not most of the people, the audience here today, are pre-existing clients that might be looking for kind of a phase 2 or a phase 3 things that you can be adding to improve the system. And they are really relevant, really important things that we're doing too. Much more, bang for the buck, much more productivity, much more value out of the system. We're getting really a lot better at this, and there's just a lot of new things, a lot of tweaks, a lot of improvements that we can offer. Okay, so to start out, what's new in the program itself, the Sage CRM 7.3 application, and we also can give you access to a demo system if any of you would like to try it out. So the three kind of primary areas, the biggest, most notable improvement is the whole interface has changed. It's a brand new interface. the fundamentals are all the same. So if you know how to use it from before, then it'll be intuitive. You can just pick it right up and use it again. But the look and the feel are a lot more contemporary, and it's probably been, I bet, maybe 8, maybe 10 years since they've done this. The other thing is the mobile options are significantly improved. It's really confusing. If you try to research what kind of mobile options there are out there for Sage CRM, the marketing, branding is confusing, like Sage is frequently. But the bottom line is that there are 2 separate product lines for mobile. There is the iTunes mobile apps, which you have to go to iTunes and download an actual mobile app. And then there is the browser-based, which are more of just like a skin. You just use a remote URL. You just look up the same URL. You launch the primary program on the server, and there is a agent is detected, so it automatically detects which device that you're on, and it's a browser-based mobile app. And this has always been a lot better than the iTunes. The iTunes version has had some real shortcomings. I don't want to bash it. I don't want to bash Sage, but we found that it's a much better option to go with the server-based, browser-based version. So one primary example of that is that you actually can create new records. You can log calls, create new leads, new opportunities, manage existing opportunities, cases, all that stuff in your phone. Whereas the iTunes version one you couldn't for a long time, and now you're still very limited. So you got to be careful that you get the right version. And for 7.2, it was rewritten. That server-side browser-based version was rewritten. So it's a lot better, but we still have some support issues with Sage. That has been pretty significantly improved this time around. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of an emulator of the 7.3 server-side browser-based mobile app. The third thing is MailChimp. And MailChimp, you may remember there was a program called SwiftPage, e-marketing for SwiftPage. They're both the same type of program. You can do either one of them. They extend the capabilities of marketing. So you can do marketing campaigns, marketing groups, target lists, all that stuff. But now SwiftPage or MailChimp will track responses. And if you edit your MailChimp database, if there's people opting out, if you have, new additions to the list, all that stuff, it communicates back into CRM. So you don't have like an island of data out there that CRM doesn't know what's going on. So like if you were to use Constant Contact, for example, and someone opts out or opts in Constant Contact, CRM wouldn't know it. They're not connected. They're not integrated. But MailChimp does have that capability. And the thing about MailChimp, we're really just getting started with it, but it looks very intuitive. It looks like the support is good for it. It's really plug and play, and it's kind of a lower end alternative for marketing capabilities. There are other options out there that add more power, richer analytics. We can extend out to the website, so not only track if someone responded to an email, but also track if they then navigated over to your website and get detailed analytics over there. So MailChimp doesn't do all that stuff, but MailChimp is very user-friendly and really easy to set up and use. So it's kind of an intermediate solution, but it's really a great way to start. It's a much lower cost. So that's one of the big options. So real quick, I won't go into a lot of detail here, but this kind of explains how you could have leads, come into your system, and you can generate target marketing lists based on any criteria in the database. So since we have really tight integration with DM2, with Mass, we could actually create target marketing lists based on purchase history, which is really powerful stuff. If somebody purchased product A, they could be a good candidate for product B, that kind of thing. And then you create that list in CRM, any list you want, completely flexible. And then if you're using the MailChimp or the SwiftPage, then it'll track the responses. And then again, if you go with the other alternatives, the higher end stuff, you could get to the point where you're really capturing super rich data, connecting the dots over time, building a profile, and start to even generate notifications, when someone hits your website. So there's lots of options, but MailChimp is kind of a good start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what the interface looks like. So I'm assuming that everybody's already familiar with the CRM program. So this is the dashboard, and the first thing you notice, there's a few improvements to the dashboard. The graphics are different. And that's nice. It's not a super heavy-hitting advantage or feature, but it's kind of cool. The reports and the dashboards look different. You notice that you've got your tabs right across the top here, which are the same tabs that you would have had if you were in My CRM before. But now the My CRM behaves a little different. So this is My CRM, then Team CRM comes down like this, and then this is Report. This is kind of like what used to be the main menu. Okay, so I'm in Dashboard right now, My CRM. If I go into Calendar, this is what it looks like. Okay, so again, the program really is not really any different to speak of, but yet it has a different look and a feel to it. It looks a little bit more modern. Okay, so now I'm in My CRM Calendar. Let's say I'm going to go over to the Opportunity Pipeline. And again, if you're familiar with how it used to work, then this should seem really familiar to you, but just a different way of approaching everything. So then the teams reports, they're all the same reports and everything, not much changed. Marketing, here's campaigns and e-marketing. Okay, where it is a little different though is if you look up in the upper right-hand corner. This clock here, I guess that's supposed to mean history or something. That's the recent button. Okay, so what used to be recent is now moved over to the right. So now you've got this, the companies and the leads that you were just in. The Find button now, here's Find Company, Find Person, all that stuff. So it behaves the same, but now it lives over here. This little box here with a plus is the new button. So new whatever, new company, new person, case, opportunity. And then the little user there is your profile. Now if I was logged in as an administrator, I would get admin here, and that's how you get into admin. Okay, but then here is your preferences. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the differences. This now is an emulator of the iPhone server app. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but it's very, fully functional for a mobile device. Certainly does not do everything you can do.
Just to clarify, Colin, so what you've just opened for everybody is intended to simulate what CRM would look like on a mobile device as opposed to the image in the background.
Correct. So yeah, I'll just kind of close the one in the background, and so yeah, this is an emulator, and there actually is no way to. I haven't figured out a way to demonstrate the mobile app yet in a GoToMeeting. I can demonstrate iPads and Surface live. I'm not going to do that right now, but this is the best way to really demonstrate in a presentation like this what a mobile app looks like. Okay, so this would fit in your iPhone, and it runs on Android as well. But the really cool thing about it is that not only can you do a lookup, say if I want to do a find, so now I tell it, what do I want to do a lookup of? Then you go back here to kind of go back home. But the really cool thing is new, okay? This is something that has not been present. The Sales Lite, iTunes app, it was amazing. You could not create new records. It was read-only. But in this case here, new company, new individual, new case, opportunity, new lead. If I'm a sales rep, I'm in the field. I'm just in my car, my phone. I can log a call very easily, right? So that's pretty cool stuff. And again, it's looking to be a lot more stable and a lot more better supported. So we had this same app before for 7.2, but we just had some issues that Sage couldn't resolve. And the whole application has been completely rebuilt. Okay, so we don't really have a heck of a lot of time today, so I'm not going to spend any more on that. Moving on, just some new stuff that we have, that DM2 has developed. We learn from every project, and our master's offering is just getting better and better. And so now we can kind of start to, roll this into our standard offering and go back to existing clients and offer some of these enhancements. One of the main things that we've done is we've developed the screens and the look and the feel a lot more intuitively to fit on the screen, to flow better, and to fit in a Surface and an iPad. Okay, so now I actually don't have this stuff built yet in 7.2. I've got it back over in it's in 7.2. We don't have all this stuff rolled out yet in 7.3, so I'm going to show you some of these things in 7.2. Okay, so fitting on the screen is just super important for a Surface or an iPad. You cannot be scrolling back and forth. The users are just going to balk at it. We really need them to adopt the system and to like it. We've got a lot of feedback from users, and user adoption actually is another thing that we're really focusing on. Trish is going to talk about some reports that we have to monitor user adoption. It's just so critical for CRM. It's a lot more critical than other kinds of programs like accounting and finance and ERP. So this is the company screen, and if you have Graytrix right now, the Graytrix ERP integration, this is what it looks like for you. Okay, it's got really just like a super abundance of tabs across the top. Okay, and notice up here that the user has to scroll way over like this to access all this stuff. So this is like the Sage 100 customer, how you promote to customer, how you look up invoices, you look up orders, the sales summary, item lookup, all that stuff, really just didn't make a lot of sense. So one thing that we're doing now is we've moved all that stuff, including the DM2 data tab, over to these buttons here.
Hey, Colin.
Down here.
Yeah, you may have moved your mouth like right on the microphone or really close to it. You're kind of coming through as muffled. Maybe just back off like maybe a half inch or something. Just you're coming across very muffled.
Okay. Yeah, this is just Bluetooth. I think I don't know if I can do anything about that.
Oh. Okay. You're good.
Okay. So here's the company screen. We got rid of all those tabs, and then you notice that we have these buttons over here on the right-hand side. So DM2 customer, this is, used to be Sage 100 customer. This is that screen that you use to promote the customer or just to look up like a snapshot of info. DM2 inquiries now, this has got what used to be 3 different tabs all in one, so you can look up orders and invoices that way. So that bottom line, it just fits on the screen far, far better. Even in an iPad or a Surface, this screen does not require scrolling. Another example of just consolidation and streamlining is the opportunity screen. And I know some of the people in the audience probably recognize this basic format in the opportunity. We have, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the opportunity, and this screen has got to be extremely busy. So we started out by using some colors and using some line breaks and breaking things up. We also put always now 3 columns wide. So if you're in a Surface or an iPad, you don't have to scroll. And furthermore, we really extensively tested this, so if you hit the button in the workflow, you're only looking at a subset of the screen. And then even when this gets longer, you just hit save and it just takes you straight down to the required field. So we've done quite a bit, we've had some clients that were very scrutinizing, and they really pressed us to improve this experience for the users. And I know some of the people in the audience to recognize, how busy this screen got before, and we've really, trimmed it down. Another really big enhancement, probably the biggest one, is DM2 pricing. If you're familiar with all of the, and sorry, before I move on to that, just one other comment about the screen. We also have multiple templates. We can take, pre-existing projects, and, if that screen that I just showed you doesn't really work for your company, if it's too busy, there's too much information at the opportunity level, if you'd like to maybe shift some of that back at the company level and maybe make the opportunity a lot simpler, like this is an example of another installation that we have. So instead of the opportunity being so big with all those sections in it and everything, you might want to go with a lot more streamlined version of it. We have, 3, 4, 5 different templates that we can use as a starting point for new projects. Again, we kind of build on our previous projects. Also, talking about the surface, this is actually the DM2 data tab displaying in a surface, and that takes me kind of to the next step, which is DM2 pricing and order entry. We have now developed DM2 pricing to extend that through to CRM. So if you are a user in the field, if you're on a Surface or an iPad, this is what it looks like. You can actually do new orders right in CRM. So if you pull up a line item, there's a new button here that says Calculate DM2 Price. So it'll automatically pull through like drum deposits, environmental fees, anything needed in DM2 pricing. It'll pull it through. So you got it in the quote on the CRM side, even if it hasn't been promoted to DM2. You can print out quotes, you can email quotes, all that kind of stuff. And then here's kind of a summary listing of all of the different levels of DM2 pricing. All this stuff comes through over on the CRM side. So this is a big improvement. In the past, we have not had DM2 pricing. We just had standard prices. But now, if you have people in the field, on a mobile device, you can actually do a quote, and we know how critical it is. This is a super competitive advantage. Your quote's going to be sure to be profitable, be sure to be up to the minute on all your costs. So this is a powerful feature to be able to bring this over to CRM. Just a couple other things that were, kind of in the works. Processes. Hang on one second. Let me get my stuff up here. So we're also doing a lot more with regard to workflows, and like, for example, an onboarding process, new customer create process, incorporating credit applications, how the users might bounce back and forth between CRM and Mass, setting things up, setting up tanks. We've done a lot with that, and we're even now working on a new full-blown credit application that's built right into CRM and would integrate with credit financing company.
Colin, you may want to maximize your screen. We're seeing all the slides on the left.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So yeah, just another thing too is location management. It's something that's really important. Everybody's asking for this, and it kind of seems strange that we got this far without it. But the whole idea that if you have a separate account manager at the address level, the location level, you might even have security, territory security. We now have ways of synchronizing the account rep and at the location level in Mass with CRM, and then you can create opportunities and communications and cases and whatever just by location. So that's something that we're rolling as an option into our offering, our masters, CRM masters. Okay. So I have about 5 minutes to go here, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and hand it over to Trish. So hang on one second here. And I've just got the end of...
Anthony, how are we on time?
We're still 5 minutes away from half an hour.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, that was what I wanted to cover. What's new in the Sage CRM program, what's new at DM2 as well with regard to CRM. Okay. So the next step would be Trish is going to talk about advanced business intelligence options. User adoption that we're tracking in a lot more detail. And I will go ahead and pass it over to Trish. And here's the server that you're going to be working on.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. So what I wanted to just briefly show you today is a couple of different ways that you can capture, well, you're capturing the data within CRM, and then how to best utilize that data, particularly when it comes to user adoption, and then also when it comes to managing the sales team. So the first thing we do with CRM is capture information about where the deal is in the process or where a particular case might be, and the activities that the sales reps are up to. But then at some point we have to be able to translate that and gain some actionable insight. And you have probably seen before the interactive dashboard and the reports that are there, and I'll go over those. But I also wanted to let you know that for those of you who are interested in doing some more data discovery and more real-time questions of the data that's going into CRM, that we have a standard package of reports that we put together. So, and this is that set. And actually, what you're looking at is an Excel spreadsheet that is connected to CRM via an ODBC connection. So, therefore, it will update dynamically every time you refresh the chart. So, I've built a few different models that seem to work well, particularly, and I was looking for something that would simultaneously help me measure user adoption, specifically, you know, how, you know, just gaining some insight as to who is engaging with their targets and when and how, and then also moving opportunities through the pipeline and being able to look at that one compared against the other, and to be able to look at user adoption and then simultaneously see how we're working on closing business. So there's actually a flow to all of this, and it goes from left to right. And I've mirrored this within our demo environment, and I've rolled it out in other locations for other accounts as well. But we're starting with this viz right here, which is lead to opportunity conversion. And here we can look by sales rep and then dynamically update the chart. So if I wanted to look at how, you know, I'm asking myself the question, how well is my team filling the funnel? So therefore, one answer to that might be, well, then how many leads have been converted into opportunities and where are they in the process? And one of the things that the Excel spreadsheet allows you to do, and again, it is not static, it is connected live, is to dynamically update. So if I click, for example, on the sales rep, the chart updates and so does the output. So if I wanted to just hone in on a particular sales rep, if I wanted to look at the team entirely, I would just click outward, and that would allow me to look at it at that point. I could also say, okay, well, I want to see of those opportunities converted by Fred, how many of those were won? And so I clicked on the measure sales rep, and now I'm going to go ahead and click on the measure won. So that gives me a different perspective in the same viz, in the same analytic output, without having to switch back and forth. And again, it dynamically updates as things are happening. So that's one of the ways we can look at it. Then we can also look at opportunities created. So again, this is tying back to the question, the sales metric or KPI question, how well are they narrowing the pool of targets? At the same time, if I'm looking at opportunities created, it gives me a sense of who on my team is driving toward gross profit and who is actually moving deals through the pipeline. So this is just one way of answering that question. And again, you'll notice that the report will dynamically update, and I can change it by time. If I want to look at a given month, if I want to just narrow in on a particular month, I can do that. If I want to look at, say, for example, a certain interval of time like January and February, I can do that, and it will dynamically update. I will clear that filter out, and I can go back to my main filter. You can look at it year by year, and in this case, we're looking at 2013, or we can look at 2014 to get the idea too of how they work. The next report that I have is sales driving activity. So what are our folks doing specifically to engage with the targets and actually move the deals through the pipeline. So this gives me a sense of where people are focusing their time. And in a like manner, it also gives me an idea of the level of activity over time. So I can look at it, for example, in January, and then in February, for example, or across the quarter. And so there are many different ways we can slice and dice. If I wanted to look at a given activity, I could say, okay, well, gee, it seems like we've had an extraordinary number of I'll just say meetings, for example, or where are we, and then be able to compare year to year. It gives us some more of an ability to explore the data. And another chart that we have is, are they winning business? How well are they moving those opportunities, and then are they closing the deals? And so this is our win-loss ratio by sales reps, so I can look at across the entire organization, for example. And this is just demo data. It looks I wish I could show you some live data from real customers, but then that wouldn't be fair, would it? So I have some interesting data here, but it gives you an idea of what we're able to do. If I wanted to just focus on one particular rep, I could do that, and then also narrow it down and say, okay, well, just show me the ones that are won, and then drill down, and then the numbers will dynamically update. There's another way of looking at win-loss ratio by sales rep, and that is this part here, where we can look at them more comparatively, one against the other, as opposed to the size of the deal, one against the other. And it works very much in the same way. So I can take a look at all of the won activities and who my superstars are. And then this gives me a chance to say, okay, I've noticed that, for example, well, poor Peter Johnson, he's really had a rough year, but, Susan May, what is she doing that is setting her apart from, say, well, we'll say Peter Johnson. So clearly, Susan is engaging with her account in a way that Peter Johnson isn't, and this gives me a chance to look in a real-time manner and extrapolate some good sales habits across my sales team, as well as take corrective action. And if I see that, whether it's when it comes to sales driving activities or the lead to opportunity conversion, or whether it is actually the opportunities created. I also have another one of these, by the way, the opportunity not just by the number of opportunities, but by gallons as well. So we can look at it a number of different ways. I think you can get the idea.
Trish, you're a couple minutes. You're a couple minutes past the hour, just so you know.
Okay, so I will just flip on over to, and I'm on Colin's computer here. The other way of looking at these is a bit more simple, but what I wanted to make sure is that they match up with the drill down that you get in that Excel spreadsheet. So we do have the interactive dashboard. I've come up with a set of 12 gadget sales metrics, and they mirror those that you just looked at, except this will appear on the interactive dashboard, and it gives you the same kind of perspective, just not as much drill down capability. But of course, you can simply click on the gadget, and it will run the report. And if you hover over it, it will give you the information as well. Many of you have seen these types of reports and the interactive dashboard. And I think the main point I want to drive home at this point is that we've got a standard set of reports that feed into this interactive dashboard to show user adoption and some sales metrics that petroleum marketers find helpful. And so you're going to get the benefit of that knowledge. And then we can also take it to another level, which is where I started with, which were the Excel spreadsheets that tie in via live ODBC connection. So I will leave it at that and toss it back over to Colin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think at this point what we were talking about is, Colin, you moved through your presentation so quickly. We wanted to make sure that we left time open for questions. So at this point, we would be remiss if we didn't give you an opportunity to, while we're here, to ask questions about any of the topics covered today. So Anthony, as our moderator, I'll toss it over to you then for questions. And Anthony is aware of who is on the call and who's presenting any questions at this point. Anthony, did we lose you? Where did he go?
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So Anthony, let's, since you are the moderator and in control, and you can see who's asking questions, we wanted to make sure that we left time open for questions.
Yeah, that's correct. At this time, if there's any questions, you might want to go ahead and just enter them in the very bottom of the screen to the right where it says questions. And we'll just give everybody a couple minutes to do that, or a minute or so to do that. Okay, I don't see any questions so far at this time. Hold on a second. There they come. They're coming in now. 1 second here. Okay, this one says, by Chris, says, how does the opportunity by location work? Can you show us that?
Yeah, I can. This is actually still kind of in beta, but we do have a couple of clients that have been using it. We're about ready to get more serious about it. So there's two primary alternatives. Okay. So we have clients where sometimes they're managing locations like a company in CRM, and other times they're managing them as a address in CRM. We've got some clients that have like a mixed bag. They've got some one way and some the other way. If you have a full-blown company record, then you have the standard default, opportunities and communications and cases and everything by company. The only problem with that is that locations, by definition, really are an address in mass. And if you use the address model, that seems to be a lot cleaner and a lot better way to go. Then they synchronize over to CRM. So what we've done, and we actually have a few clients that have done this as a customization, you just add an account manager to the address field. Okay, so for each different address can have their own account manager. We also can set up Ratrix to synchronize the mass location sales rep over to the address. We can also add territory security at this level if you want. Okay, so the way that you get this associated then with the opportunity is if you then just take the opportunity and the communication and the case and just add an address lookup field here. So here we can associate the address with the opportunity. So for reporting purposes, you could look up opportunities by address. We can even add an address lookup where you can look up addresses. And what we need, we don't have here is lookup needs to be optionally by address code or address name as well as just the address itself, like the address one field. Okay, so this is how you would, create that relationship between the address and opportunities and communications.
All right. Thanks, Colin. The next question says, explain the browser, this is from Bob, explain the browser-based interface versus the app. Where do we find these to try them? So Bob wants to know.
Yes, yeah, I assume you mean for the mobile. To set up the one we recommend, the browser-based one, all you do is just set up a remote URL in your router firewall, and then you just go into the browser and just browse it. Just look it up. Just access the primary system from the mobile device. And there's, by default, there's already an agent set up that detects that it's a mobile device. So then you pull up the mobile app here instead of pulling up the full-blown program. If you do the same thing, look it up on an iPad or a Surface, it's going to pull up the full program. Okay. If you want to find the iTunes version, that's mostly what you'll find if you Google, you know, Sage CRM for iPhone or Sage CRM for Android. It'll be they're real apps that you have to download. And you have to configure the server as well. So this one here, the one that we recommend, it's really hard to find anything on it. There's hardly even any pictures of it. If you Google mobile apps for Sage CRM, you're going to see the iTunes version is what you'll see. The documentation is not especially good either in comparing the two. But that would be how you would set up the proper one.
So what that would entail is, as opposed to downloading the app, but rather having the skin, the browser-based skin, we simply would need to, there's another URL that we would create based on your public IP address. And it's very straightforward for us to set up. So if you don't have that already, then we would need to create that for you, and then you would be ready to rock and roll. It offers quite a lot of freedom. And it, of course, adapts to all types of interfaces, whether it's an Android or an iPhone or a tablet or an iPad. In addition, something that I found very cool from being able to use this from my phone is when I select an address, it will, within CRM, and I click on the hyperlink, it will open up in my map application, which is Google Maps on my phone. Likewise, if I press on the phone number, it's going to open up the phone application, the ability for me to dial from my phone, as well as email. So if I've got the person's email address in there and I simply press on it, it's going to open up my email application as well. So that comes in really handy, especially for salespeople who are out on the road all the time, who use their phones quite extensively. The other thing that we've done with mobility is we've created a lot of notifications that CRM pushes out to the users, so that, for example, if a credit app has been approved, you know, Colin had talked about automating some processes. So we like to do as many push notifications that also tie back into CRM, so I can be on my phone and get a notification, for example, that a credit app has been approved or it's been denied, and then I can look in CRM, and the notification, the corresponding notification to the email notification will be at the top of the screen, and I simply click on it and will open right to that record. That's one example. So we know that people are on their mobile devices, and I know that Colin and I have been very vocal about backup to Sage, about the mobility needs of our account, and so we're really cognizant of that. And so, in addition to the external URL on 7, well, it's certainly you can use on 7.2, but Colin explained to you the difference between the external URL on 7.2 versus 7.3. We also can create a number of push notifications that go to your email.
Okay, thank you, Colin and Trish. And then one more question here. This one's from Bob. I'm unfamiliar with what the term master's program means.
Okay, well, the math side, they've had a master's for a long time, and we're really just starting to do that. It's like a set of standard features. Some of them are optional that we could roll out for a brand new implementation. we're just getting to the point where as I said, we've got these templates, we've got different ways of approaching things, and we can just roll the whole thing out. We've got a tool that we can use for cloning one system to another, and it's a good starting point. Normally there's still a lot of design that needs to be done, a lot of tweaking, fine-tuning, but we're working on just a more formalized masters and a set of features that would be something proprietary to DM2. You wouldn't be able to find it anywhere else. It's just a set of features and functions specialized for this industry. So that's what the masters is.
And one of those is the DM2 pricing as well, which I know you talked about, but it's extremely, it allows us to take things to the next level where you're able to actually generate quotes from CRM with accurate pricing, and we're really excited about that.
All right, thank you. We're just a couple minutes over 45 past the hour. Typically, it's always best to finish early, then go over time, be respectful of everyone's time. So before we go, though, I want to make sure we introduce our next webinar next month, and I have that information here somewhere. I will make sure to email that out to everybody. So we'll post it up along with a copy of today's presentation. This recording today is going to be posted. So again, if you want to see a copy of this or forward this on to anybody or go over something you saw today, it'll be available along with a copy of today's presentation on the customer content page of our website. And then again, we'll send you an email to let you know when it's available to download, as well as an email of what our next webinar is. So if you think of any questions after the webinar or want to find out more about today's topics, just please feel free to email us at sales@dm2.com. And again, I want to thank Colin and Trish for their help today. And again, thank you for attending today's webinar, What's New in Sage CRM version 7.3.